Planet Dolan.
Hi, I'm Sharky Boy, and here are some stories about stupid things I did when I was younger, as well as one thing that wasn't my fault. So I was an extremely accident-prone child growing up. That wasn't to say I went out of my way looking for trouble, more that I was just really unaware of the obvious dangers of the world, and I was way too curious for my own good. Like that one time my mother told me repeatedly not to touch a hot clothing iron. "It's hot," she said, "don't touch it, you'll burn yourself." But I looked at the clothing iron, with the steam billowing out of the holes on the bottom, and I thought, hey, that looks cool. What if I touched it? And completely disregarded warnings, placing my hand square on the bottom of the iron and promptly burning myself. Now, at that age, I hadn't felt anything quite as painful as that before, so I was a little extra shaken when I pulled my red hand away while whimpering and whining like a demented puppy. I remember my mum rushing into the room, looking exasperated, and she had to pull me over to the sink to run my hand under cold water. She said that was the first and last time I ever disobeyed her, and that was kind of true. Except for this next instance I think she forgot about. A similar thing happened a few years later when I was over at a friend's place and we were jumping on the couch in the living room, as you do when you're 7. Now we were told, don't jump on the couch now, you might fall and hurt yourself. Yeah, I thought, in my way too cool for school 7-year-old mind, deciding I was gonna do it anyway because I was just that much of a rebel. I ended up going face first through the glass coffee table just beside the couch. My face got cut up something fierce, big jagged shards stuck all in my face, but thankfully not in my eyes. I was a screaming mess. Mum was horrified as you could guess. I needed stitches after that as well as another firm talking to. I was more afraid of my mum than the fact that I destroyed someone's table or done possibly irreversible brain damage to myself. My mum was too busy worrying about and doting on me to tell me off. Still, despite that, you'd think I would have learned my lesson, right? Well, no. Things sometimes got worse when there wasn't an adult around to immediately scold me or warn me of danger. For example, one time I was swinging on the schoolyard monkey bars with my friends and I decided, I'm going to swing from this bar all the way to the end bar, which was probably a good 2.5 meters away from where I was dangling. And so I swung, released, and went to grab the next bar, but for some reason, probably because I did not account for momentum or my feeble grip, I slipped on the rung and fell like a sack of potatoes on the floor. Now you might be thinking, that's normal stuff, kids break their arms all the time, and yeah, that's true, however, my arm was almost sideways. Think of a bloody staircase. That thing had 2 breaks in it. And as I sat there on the floor looking at it, all I could think was, no, that's not good. Before standing, looking around at my friends, and then promptly bawling my eyes out as the shock wore off as they stared at my mangled appendage. Recovery is long and required some resetting, which was exceptionally unpleasant. The pain of getting your shattered arm put back into place is like having your arm run over by a car. Well, for me anyway. It also made playing video games a lot harder, which I distinctly remember from trying to get my barely responsive fingers to work the controller on my first night home. But it wasn't just me that I got into danger. Oh no, I was a cursed little object sometimes, and the greatest example I can think of this is when me and my grandma were driving up the mountain towards... I don't remember. I was like 5 or 6 or so. It was a long time ago. But this mountain had very narrow roads. A lot of sections of which didn't have any guard railing. So we're talking a very narrow road to a sheer drop off a mountain. Anyway, I needed to take my mind off of this, so I started drawing pictures with the spare pen and paper that I had lying around. And, I thought one of my drawings was very, very good. So I showed my nan and the picture of the man in the armor shooting lasers at the stick figure men. And she said, oh, that's very nice, glancing over at it. Then she locked up and threw us into the other lane. We had just crept over into oncoming traffic, and we almost got yeeted off the mountain by a flatbed truck. Yeah. I almost died. We almost died. Almost got us killed. SCP-Sharky, Object Class Euclid. My behavior would sometimes worry my parents, especially my grandparents, as you could probably tell. Despite the fact that I most of the time listened to everything they had to say, I still had my moments where I thought my superior galaxy-brained 10-year-old judgment overruled theirs. One of the most frightening instances of this for my parents was when we were going to visit a family friend's farm. I was running through the fields chasing the dog, a golden retriever by the way, but when we got to the edge of the property, the dog straight up just jumped the fence and kept running. Now you know when you're little, everything is amplified when you think you've done something wrong. Things that should make you run back and go, oh crap, mum, dad, the dog got out, you should go look for him. Instead makes your blood run cold, your heart stop, then your instincts take over. That happened to me, and so I jumped the fence and went straight after him, running up the dirt road after this dog thinking, my parents are gonna kill me. And so I ran after this dog, who was showing no signs of slowing down until suddenly he ducked away into another farmer's property, swooshing away behind a house. I didn't think twice about running into a stranger's property, and I just ran off after him, rounding the corner and finding a couple sitting at a table behind the house drinking coffee. They were doting over the dog, who was more interested in sniffing the plate of biscuits on their table. I apologized to the couple profusely and grabbed the dog by the collar, explaining what had happened. They smiled and understood, offering to give me a ride back to the farm. "Thanks," I said, without a second thought, offering to get into a car with complete strangers. The small child in the middle of nowhere with nobody knowing that he was out here. Needless to say, when my parents saw me in the backseat of a truck with the dog, they were a little freaked out. But the people were cool about it and they explained what happened. I was told off, but it was alright in the end, as it usually was. Now we're going to fast forward a bit for this next one. I was 18 and at the time attending a lot of parties with my friends. Not massive events, but large enough, usually about 15 or more people hanging out and drinking. Oh, and I was a drinker, oh boy. Anyway, a friend of mine approached me as I sat slumped, shirtless on the couch. Yeah, I was the kind of guy who threw his shirt off the first chance he got when he was drunk. I still kind of am, but less so since I'm not as fit as I used to be. And, my friend asked me if I would kiss this other guy who was at the party. She said she'd pay me $20 to do it. Well, I thought to myself, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Then the other half of me said, $20 is $20. And so I agreed. The guy wasn't bad looking either, but still, it was an odd thing to do. I asked him if he'd be down to do it. I even said I'd split the money with him, just for his trouble. He agreed, and I kind of immediately went for it without warning. There was, of course, a lot of people around from school who all had their camera phones out. You'd think that was just a bit of harmless fun, right? Well, sort of, except the next day I get a Facebook message, and guess who it's from? The guy from the party, and guess who's pouring their heart out to me, confessing that they've liked me for a long time and never had the courage to tell me, yeah, that was, embarrassing and rough. I tried my best to let him down easy, telling him I wasn't looking for a relationship, and heck, I didn't even know if I was into dudes, really. But being 18 and not the best at explaining myself, I think I came across as a bit of a dick. That one sticks with me. I feel really bad about that. Now this last story is quite short, and it goes back a while. But this one wasn't my fault. It's just something really weird that happened to me, and in retrospect is kind of freaky. You see, my mum's friend's ex-boyfriend showed up at the pools that me and my mum were hanging out at. I don't know the exact context of the events because I was like 2 or 3 at the time, but this guy just bloody picked me up and yeeted me into the pool. Like, mate, you don't just yeet a baby. Is it bad if I laugh at the mental image of myself as a baby getting a limping hammer tossed into the deep end of a public pool? Yeah? Oh, well, whatever.
If you guys have ever thought about joining Planet Dolan, if you have a 5 to 10 minute story time of your own, submit a script and voice recording to story@planetdolan.com. Check the description box below for further details.
Thanks for listening to my stories. I've been Sharky Boy. Bye.